is our Congressman, Tim Walberg. Hi, Tim.
Bart, good to be with you.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
I think this is your first visit since you won re-election.
Well, I think we were here once before.
Oh.
It was that memorable.
Well, well, I'm trying to think of, because you've got the new district.
Right.
It goes all the way to like Michigan. Is it harder to stay in tune with your new district?
No, in fact, I spent the last 2 days over on the west side of the state and saw Lake Michigan yesterday before coming back here. Today we're on this part of the state in Jackson for much of the day today, just kind of getting caught up. But no, it's a great district. It's just a long district. And being the border wall for Michigan from Indiana, Ohio, I think it's a good thing, especially when we get to the NCAA tournament. We want to make sure we keep the Hoosiers and the Buckeyes at bay.
Well, there are some people that think because Purdue's a Big Ten team that could be one of the teams we're supporting in the tournament.
It could be, and I'm learning that when you have border counties, people have different enjoyment factors relative to their sports, and I've never been a fan of Notre Dame.
St. Joseph County is.
Oh, they sure are, and I'm having to tone down my words about Notre Dame, and always seeming to have that special help on the field that goes against us. So.
Touchdown Jesus.
Yeah.
I know you've been busy in the district. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. You were recently at Spring Arbor University. You spoke to students. What was that?
SSI students. I'm trying to remember what SSI stands for. But it's a great program for high school students. Mm-hmm. Get them up to speed on issues relative to their lives. Student Statesmanship Institute is what it is. And they do mock elections. They have lobbyists that come in and play the part for an issue, and they are legislators trying to deal with things. It's kind of like a youth in government setting, but it's gone on for many, many years over at Spring Arbor University, housing that opportunity. So I was over there to speak to them about my life in politics and how my faith and values come into it as well. Student
Statesman Institute, and that's what SSI stands for, and it's kind of like Boy State, Girl State.
Kind of like that, yeah. It's a year-round program, but then they have these specific seminars where they bring groups together.
Also, you helped get funding for Henry Ford Jackson Hospital.
Yeah.
For, I think, mental health.
We're excited about that. The mental health is a big deal today. We've seen all sorts of concerns there, everything from the shootings that have gone on, craziness, as well as what's taking place, especially with young people. Very difficult to find centers where pediatrics, behavioral health individuals can come. And so here in Jackson, we have that opportunity. We were helpful in getting a grant approved for them to put a new respite facility in for pediatrics, behavioral, mental health concerns. So had a chance to go over there and meet with those involved and see where the new facility will be.
Nice. Well, this week we saw a very troubling incident where Russian fighters buzzed and clipped a U.S. unmanned drone. And this morning, the Pentagon released the video, and it's pretty shocking.
Yeah.
It shows those Russian jets dousing our drone with gasoline, jet fuel.
Yeah, no, it was punitive in nature. I think it's because Putin realizes that he's not winning the war in Ukraine. And this was an opportunity to kind of push back on the United States for our support for Ukraine, along with other countries, but it was our drone that was flying. He probably knew that because it was an unmanned drone, there wouldn't be any serious problems to his jet fighters. Mm-hmm. He also knew that because none of our personnel were injured as a result of that, there wouldn't necessarily be a reason where we would take down one of his jets. But I think it's a provocation that we have to cautiously, but carefully, but firmly push back on and make him aware that this can't go on, and the next time may have a very different outcome from it. I often think if President Trump were still president, if that, number one, if Ukrainian war would be taking place now, but certainly something like this probably wouldn't have happened. Had it happened, I think there was an unwritten rule that something would hit the fan, and it would not be in the best interest of Russia or Putin.
You know, it's hard to decide what would have happened, with hindsight, because some of the candidates that have already declared or indicated they might be running for president next year, Republicans, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, and to a lesser extent Mike Pence, and even former President Trump, they haven't sounded as committed and behind Ukraine as you just did.
Yeah, and it's very political. You know, I think America does not want us to get into another Afghanistan or Vietnam War. They don't want our soldiers carrying the brunt of the war. They don't want us wasting money on an effort that can't win. But I think on the other side of the ledger, there are many, many people in this country, and of course in leadership positions, that also believe that Russia can't be allowed to, without impact, step on sovereign nations, because if it's kind of like eating potato chips. You take one, others are worried about it. And that's why you see little countries like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Finland now, stepping up to the plate and saying, no, this can't go on, because they realize that's their region of the world. And if Russia can take over Ukraine, the largest land space, European land space that's there, Estonia they can roll over in one day, Latvia, Lithuania in the next 3 days, and Finland is all along that border. Mm-hmm. That's a dangerous spot. So I think it's important that we have transparency in our operations with Ukraine. NATO is a relationship that we've been in, we helped establish to push back on Russia, specifically the Soviet Union. We had success with that. The Soviet Union went away, but Putin has always wanted to regain a Soviet Union of power. That started with Crimea. Once Trump became president, that stopped, didn't go any further there, but then it's all changed again. So I think we have to be cautious. I was over there, as you know, toward the beginning of the war, traveled all across Ukraine on my own dime. Nancy Pelosi wouldn't approve any type of Codel going over there, but we felt we needed to know what was taking place. Meet with the people involved, meet with the citizens, with military leaders, with Zelensky's council. And it was amazing to see. And I came away truly believing that Ukraine will never give up. They will fight to the last man if they have to. But right now, with relatively minimal support, when you think of the billions and billions of dollars that could be put forward, almost $76 billion of what we've appropriated have been used thus far by Ukraine. I hear wild claims about $600 billion, etc. We haven't even appropriated that much yet. But they've used it well. They've been committed to transparency with us. And those people that say, well, Ukraine is a corrupt nation, all I have to say is, well, there has been corruption there. But you think there might be some corruption in our country as well? And I think it comes down to the fact that we want to make sure that China and other nations that could be very strong enemies against us understand that that will not be accepted.
Let's get closer to home. You recently toured the southern border, and not Indiana, Ohio, but Mexico. And two concerns you talked about in some statements to media, the crossing of the border illegally.
Illegal, yeah.
And also, and the drugs coming.
Drugs, the fentanyl that's coming across, the impact, to human trafficking, all of that. We went down there as Energy and Commerce Committee. It was a full committee hearing. Unlike some of the other committees that have gone down recently, we did have Democrats join us. They were limited in number, but there were, I think, 5 or 6 that joined us at the border to look at what's going on, to hear testimony from the Border Patrol agents, from some sheriffs and human service people, social workers, and even from those that support illegal immigration were in front of our committee. It was a valid committee to hear the rapid increase, geometric increase in the amount of fentanyl coming across the border, and the fact that every week 200 people die in the United States from fentanyl poisoning. We're not talking about overdose. This is actually poisoning that goes on. If we heard one airliner went down per week, costing 200 people's lives, what would we be doing? We'd be stepping up, hands in the air, fighting what was taking place, finding out why. And so we thought it was important to get down there and hear what's taking place. Then we went up to Midland, Midland, Texas, to take a look at the energy issue. So it was a good trip there. But I think American people are very open to having legal immigration. Why not? America's a great place. But the illegal immigration now has become to almost a terrorism event when you have Americans now who are slaughtered just crossing the line for either tourism or going for a medical issue like 2 weeks ago. That's gone too far. And so there are a number of us who believe that it may come to a point in time that we need to declare war on the cartels, and meaning that is actual war, and we have the capabilities of taking them out at their most powerful positions, and it may be time to do that.
Declare war on the cartels.
Yeah, as a terrorist entity, just like we did on Al-Qaeda.
Stop calling them cartels, start
calling
them
terrorists. Foreign terrorists to the United States. Because right now, what was interesting for me to be in McAllen, Texas, I hadn't been there for 3 years. The difference in the development that had gone on in McAllen, Texas, businesses, restaurants, housing developments. We asked the Border Patrol agent taking us around, what's taking place here with all of the illegal stuff and the concern about crime? Why has it developed? They said that's cartel money. That's how they launder their money into legitimate businesses. They can launder that money and use it for other purposes as
Just
well.
like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So I was shocked when the cartel apologized for killing the tourists. Oh, we meant to kill some other people.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So you're looking at Midland energy production, oil obviously in Texas.
Oil, natural gas. Yeah.
And of course Texas, their grid, there's so many issues as we've seen. But last week, President Biden kind of reversed himself in saying that now he is in favor of getting oil out of Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, which I bet that makes you happy.
Makes me happy. I mean, when we were doing that under the Trump administration in Anwar region, no environmental hazards, no damage that went on. We were capable of using our own resources, didn't have to purchase it from other countries, made us totally energy independent. And that's all we ask. So I'm glad finally, probably as a result of all of the pressure that's coming on because of the continued high gas prices, the huge fluctuation, just reading in the green room, an article in the Wall Street Journal today about the huge fluctuations going on in natural gas. And of course, any of us, myself included, who heat our homes with natural gas, we've seen that type of fluctuation going on. It shouldn't be there. And that's because we jumped into wind and solar too quick, rather than having an all-of-the-above energy plan that said, let's continue to use even coal as we clean that up and move away from it. It could be useful in keeping that energy supply for us at a very stable level so we don't have those fluctuations that those with least ability to pay are just being decimated by.
Well, we're seeing a shift to battery-powered electric vehicles, and here in Michigan, in your district, Marshall, looks to be benefiting from a Ford battery plant that is getting subsidized essentially by
all the rest of the taxpayers.
Yeah, so what do you think about that?
I don't like it. I like the 2,500 job prospect. Who wouldn't like that for your own communities? But I don't like the fact that we're tied to China. And though Ford has told me it's only contractual basis for their licensing and the processes they use. Well, doggone it, why can't we do it? Ford's a big enough company, and good old Henry Ford, I'm sure, would say, we're going to build it. Mm-hmm. That's why we built the Model T, so everybody could have a Ford Model T, same color black, but everybody could have it. We led the competition. So you're going to go to China which will have a heavier battery, less life in the battery, lower cost, but still Chinese, while they continue to gain from us. And who knows what intelligence gathering they'll do.
The balloons.
Well, sitting next to the Air National Guard base with our drone wing in the Air National Guard base in Battle Creek. I mean, this is perfect for the Chinese to do further intelligence gathering. So I'm very concerned about that. And I think that EV may be the mode of the future. It might not be. It could be hydrogen. It could be something else. For us to be forced by the government to go to a direction. I'll never forget sitting next to the late John Dingell. I was just a freshman member of Congress at the time. He and I were meeting with the chairman of Chrysler Daimler, Sergio Marchionne. And Sergio listened to the chairman, Dingell, for some time about the new CAFE standards that they were proposing.
He was the chair of the
Energy and Commerce Committee, in which I sit now. And finally, Sergio said to him, Mr. Chairman, thank you. All I ask is that you give us a reasonable CAFE standard that we can hit, but then get out of the way. Don't tell us what engine we need, what motor we need, how we accomplish that. Between our customers, our engineers, we will figure out how to do that. And I think that's the way we should be doing it now. What does the customer want? What will work best? What will meet the basic standards? And then go from there.
All right, well, we just have a minute left, and I already mentioned the candidates who have already either declared or are on the edge of declaring for president, Republicans next year. Nikki Haley, she's in. Ron DeSantis, probably. Donald Trump, yes. Mike Pence, this week he sounds like he's this close to running. Do you support any of those?
I want the Republican that can win.
Can Donald Trump win?
He could. I loved his policy. I would vote for him in a heartbeat if he were our candidate. But I think we have some other good candidates too, and let it work out. Could be DeSantis, could be Pompeo. I served with Mike Pompeo. I served with Mike Pence. I like both of them.
We'll see a lot more names, won't we?
Oh, we'll see a lot more names. Yeah. But what's going on now, we can't continue for another 4 years after these final two of this president's administration. So I'm going to be working for the Republican that can win and bring our country back.
All right. St. Patrick's weekend, any big plans?
Well, I plan to eat as much corned beef and cabbage as I possibly can. And tomorrow I'll be wearing green.
All right.
I'll even wear my new member's pin, which is emerald green in color. Ugly as can be. But for St. Patty's Day, it'll work.
Great. Thanks for taking time to be with us here today.
Good to be with you.
Our Congressman, Tim Walberg.